Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times, a Prancing Pony podcast production. I'm the Man of the West. I'm going to go ahead and keep week 88 going with another Word Nerd Wednesday, continuing with that tradition of using these Word Nerd Wednesdays to look at the new names and words that we have encountered in our Túrin Turambar Tuesday readings. Now, last week we ended by saying that we'd talk about the last two names associated with Túrin, Dagnir Glaurunga, and a name that showed up in a genealogical tree. Interestingly, that name then becomes the name of the waters here, but let's get to it and we'll see how that happened. First up, though, I want to go back to the moment from yesterday. Túrin they laid in a high mound where he had fallen, and the shards of Gurthang were laid beside him. And when all was done, the elves sang a lament for the children of Húrin, and a great grey stone was set upon the mound, and thereon was carven in runes of Doriath, Túrin Turambar, Dagnir Glaurunga. Dagnir Glaurunga. Let's start with the easy word first, Glaurunga. It's simply Glaurung's name with the genitive suffix. That expresses the of, so it means of Glaurung. That's Glaurunga. But let's look at the interesting word Dagnir. The element dag is a Sindarin term meaning to slay or kill. You might know it better from the passive participle version of it, dangen, in Howth and Endengen, Hill of the Slain. It also shows up, by the way, in a really cool name of Berin's sword that was given only in the Lay of Leithian Recommenced in the Lays of Beleriand. There, Berin's sword is named Dagmor, Slayer of Darkness. Very cool. Now, the second element, Nir, is the mutated form of Sindarin Dir, meaning man, adult male, right? Brandir, Dirheil, Brandir, Haldir, etc. So Dagnir is slayer, a man who slays. Interestingly, it's also the name of one of the 12 companions of Barahir, simply the noun slayer used as the name. So, Dagnir Glaurunga is Slayer of Glaurung, or more poetically, Glaurung's Bane. Now, let's get to a name that shows up in a letter. In a 1964 letter to Eileen Elgar, Tolkien included a manuscript that consisted of a family tree titled The Kinship of the Half-Elven, and a note explaining some details. On that family tree, Túrin is given the name Nairamarth. Now that consists of two Sindarin elements. The first is Nair, N-A-E-R. That means dreadful, horrible, unendurable. And the second is the now familiar Amarth, meaning fate or doom, seen in Amon Amarth, Mount Doom, and Umarth, the name that Túrin said was his father's name when he called himself Agarwine, son of Umarth, the blood-stained son of ill fate. Now, that's cognate with Quenya Umbar, seen in Nianor's lament, A Túrin Turambar Túrin Ambaratanen, Master of Doom by Doom Mastered. So, Nairamarth is literally dreadful doom or unendurable fate. And that makes sense, given that we are told directly in the text yesterday that Kabed Nairamarth, the new name for what was once Kabed and Aras, means the leap of dreadful doom. Of course, we've talked about Kabed and Aras, its old name, just a couple of weeks back. Now, that's really all the names and words from the story of Túrin, but that would make for a very short Word Nerd Wednesday, so I want to jump over to our readings in Tuor to grab a name or two. At the end of last week, we met, or saw, straggling to shore from the sea, the mariner named Voronwe. Now, unlike so many of the names we've looked at in the Túrin story, Voronwe's name is Quenya. Now, it could be that Voronwe, the name, is simply the noun Voronwe, which means steadfastness, loyalty, or faithfulness. We see that word in the Oath of Kirion from Unfinished Tales in the line, Ar Elendil Vorando Voronwe, meaning, and of the faith of Elendil the faithful. But Eldamo.org believes, and I think they're right, that the final element we here is actually just the suffix, the typically masculine suffix common in ancient names, like Manwe, Olwe, Ingwe, etc. In which case, the first element is a form of the primitive Elvish root bor, or boron, meaning endure. After all, it's the same root in the noun Voronwe, steadfastness. That root bor, endure, and its extended form boron, both show up in the 1930s etymologies, and all have to do with endurance, faithfulness, etc. It's an element in the name of one of my favorite of the lesser-known heroes, Brandir, the horseman who rode from Minas Tirith all the way to Eorl in the north of the Vales of Anduin, at the request of Kirion, the steward of Gondor, bearing a message that would lead to the Eotheod saving Gondor and becoming the Rohirrim. Anyway, Brandir is just steadfast man, right? We talked about deer before, and boron is just steadfast. So, We have seen this before. Voranwe seems to be just about the same. Steadfast plus the ancient masculine suffix. Now, Friday, we will learn that he is the son of Aranwe, and that just lends more support to the notion that both of their names use that we suffix, because in that case, Aran is the element for king, so kingman or kingly man. And I know that this is a short episode, but consider yesterday's episode to be making up for this in advance. Well, folks, that is it for today's Word Nerd Wednesday. Come back next time as we wander the wide, wild, wonderful world of words weekly on Wednesdays. And if there's a word you want to know more about, just let me know. Email barliman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Please visit patreon.com/TolkienTimes to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout with me, a bonus weekly episode, and a lot more. And join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Third Age Thursday as we bring to an end our 38-week journey through the poems and songs in The Lord of the Rings. Those of you listening on a podcast, please be sure to subscribe to the show in your podcast app. For those of you on YouTube, click the subscribe button to make sure that you get access to all of the PPP productions. And then, of course, be sure you're all following @PrancingPonyPod on social media. As Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.